Today we are going to make this simple, loose, wet on wet watercolors. The idea is to practice loose watercolors just by focusing on simple ideas like some object and reflection, some simple composition, etc. These kind of practices can really improve your watercolor skills and your idea generating skills. Hi friends, I'm VanidasMangathil and let us learn watercolors together. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe and press the bell notification. Without further ado, let us get into the tutorial. I am using a cold pressed watercolor paper 300 GSM and I have made it little bit more wider and less taller. So it is slightly smaller than A3 size, right? So we will start with drawing some initial ideas. I just wanted to make some sort of a horizon and some sort of some elements. See, the idea here is not to make complicated painting. The idea is to show you how we can make simple landscapes in watercolors and how we can practice it effectively using wet on wet techniques and getting loose watercolors. All right. So my tutorials when it comes to loose landscapes are usually simpler so that you can easily practice it. Even a beginner watercolor aspirant with some familiarity with the medium can easily do these tutorials, follow these tutorials. That is the idea, right? So some piece of land and maybe some trees, big tree. These are some big shapes, okay, and maybe some smaller shapes. And the reflections. The reflections are usually the mirror images of the objects above. So we have some sky, we have some land or water body, we have some tree and their reflections, and let us also make a couple of tiny figures. Okay, a very simple idea. You don't always have to practice very complicated subjects, okay? So it practices can be done with simple subjects and get the simple subjects done well, okay? That is usually my approach. Do less complicated things and do it well, and then you will gain the confidence and you can slowly move to the more and more complex things. And let us also make some sort of reflection for these figures. Okay, right. Now I think we can now go to the painting phase. Okay, so let us pick up the colors. Today I am using colors from an Indian brand watercolors called Aquatone. I'll give the name in the description. Aquatone, and I am starting with slightly a different color today. So I'm using some kind of a lavender color today. Okay, just for a different mood, I'm picking lavender color and maybe a touch of red and lavender color. Okay, it's a very pale wash as you can see from the palette. The palette is not fully seen always. Yeah, but you can see it is a very pale wash of lavender and a touch of red, right? And I am using a mop brush from Raphael brand number 6. A mop brush from Raphael brand number 6 is the size. Okay. Usually I don't mention, I stay away from mentioning the brush size because I have seen that many times the brush numbers doesn't translate correctly across the brands. So within brands, across the brands the size sizes tend to differ, particularly if it is not a very branded brush. Okay. Now let us extend this sky wash to the water body below, because see, the water will always reflect the sky above. Again the same kind of color. I am making a tiny bit darker color, right? I think that is that looks good. I mean, to me. I'm adding little bit of ultramarine blue and applying it to the top of the sky, so that it looks a little bit bluish at the top. Okay, so for some depth in the sky, and when we add the clouds, it will look good. I'm sorry, I'm getting some background noise. Some constructions are happening around, and I don't unfortunately have a soundproof system. Okay. Little bit darker, and you will see. I mean, very soon you will see that all these dark colors will dry very light. Okay, so you will find it very light once it dries. Okay, I think we already captured the kind of atmosphere already. Okay, now let us add some sky, I mean some clouds. I'm adding the same lavender color and a touch of neutral tint, and lavender colors. I sometimes I just feel like to experiment, and today is one of such days. I am trying these unusual colors, but you feel free to. I mean, if you don't have a lavender color, you can use maybe blue colors instead, and still follow along. Okay, these are some random shapes for the clouds, and whenever you paint clouds, you have to pay respect to the overall perspective. The bigger clouds should usually go up, okay, and smaller clouds should go down. That is how the perspective of the cloud behaves. That will Such an arrangement will give more depth. Okay, now I think the clouds are reasonably good. Okay, just some random brushworks. The overall shape is bigger at the top and smaller at the bottom. Okay. I think we can now go for the far end foliages. Okay, there is some water accumulation, and I want to lift out those waters from the figures. Okay, and let us make the far end foliages. And I'm using some violet color and ultramarine blue, etc. Violet and ultramarine blue. I'm using same Aquatone watercolors for this. Okay. Right. See, you have noticed that I have lifted out water from the figures. I just wanted to avoid spreading these colors into the figures. Okay, so that is the reason I just lifted out the water. And yeah, see, at this point we are actually making the far end foliages along with its reflection. Okay. Right. This video is captured in real time, so you might at times you may find the brushworks are done a little slowly. When as a beginner, I mean, if you are a beginner, it should be good for you, and if you are a little advanced, you can probably increase your playback speed and then watch it. So here I am using sap green and tiny bit of neutral tint, and I'm suggesting some far end foliage. Okay, here the top edge of the foliage I am keeping some shape changes, because then we can carry that changes in the shapes, in the reflections also. See, if the object is flat, the reflection also will tend to be flat. So if the object is having some random shapes, the reflection also can carry those shapes, and it will look more interesting. And maybe this is a bigger tree, okay, and maybe it is slightly nearby. I think I have to make it a little bit more darker, okay, maybe adding a little bit more blue or red, and sometimes I also add a little bit of darker colors, like in this case I may use some neutral tint, thick neutral tint also, to get darker tones. Actually, my palette is broken into two pieces, so you may find I am switching between those two pieces. Okay, the hinge is broken, so I'm using both the part of the palette. Okay, so yeah, I think this looks convincing, right? So at this point, I am using a Escoda synthetic round brush number 8. Escoda Prado number 8. Some scratching, some with my fingernails, okay, just to create some highlights, some interest. That's it. Right. So we actually got most of the foreground, far away things, and what we need now is the land part of it and the reflections, and of course we need to do the figures. This is mainly Payne's grey, no, not Payne's grey. This is mainly yellow ochre and burnt sienna. Burnt sienna and yellow ochre, and a touch of maybe blue for some darker, to add some tonal value to that. It is kind of a dark green color. Okay. This suggests some shapes for the water body. Yeah, I think this is good enough, and let us now make the reflections. Usually I start the reflection with the vertical brushworks. Okay. And while applying the vertical brushworks, I try to roughly make a mirror reflection for the reflection. Mirror image for the reflections. Okay. It doesn't have to be precisely mirror reflection. If it is slightly off here and there, it should be still okay. But it should suggest, to get it convincingly done, it should look like a mirror reflection. So the foliage above has some shape change at the edge. So I am trying to retain such shape changes in the reflection also to make it interesting. Splashing some water to get some textures. Okay. If you are new to my channel, or if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe and press the bell notification. Okay. If you have any questions, any suggestions, please do write them into the comment box below. I will be trying to come back with my answers as early as possible. Okay. I'm taking a smaller brush now, and maybe I'm just making some vertical lines, vertical elements. See, the idea is not actually to paint those elements. I want some more interest in the reflections. So I wanted to make some vertical lines on the reflections. So for that, I am adding this kind of vertical elements. Okay. Right, now let us make some, let us color the figures. Okay, I am using some turquoise green kind of a color. For the first figure, I mean, it is not turquoise green, it is cobalt green. Okay. And here I am using violet color for this figure. See, I mean, it doesn't really matter what kind of shirt they wear, what is the color of their apparels, but try to keep some variations. That's all is important. They are just standing there. So, what is the story you can think of? Okay. I'm using a liner brush for this. Okay. And this is a Chinese, this is actually the Skoda brush. I'm applying orange directly from the tube. I'm picking it and then applying it to the exposed body part like faces and maybe hands, arms, etc. Okay. And now little suggestions for the reflections. So you may see that in my landscapes, you may see that my landscapes have water bodies in it, because I find these reflections and boards things a little bit interesting. So okay, they stay closer to my heart, so I keep adding them. And it is easy to do also. Simple element and simple element and some do it quickly with some wet on wet approach. As figure here, I think the reflections went little too strong, so I'm just lifting some of those reflection colors with a tissue paper, just gently pressing it, not pressing hard, very gently pressing it and taking it out. Yeah, right. I think we are pretty much done. Oh, I have spoiled this figure while lifting the colors. I think I have spoiled this figure. Let us redefine it. Okay. Some more darkness is advisable in my view. Okay. Now what? I don't want to add any more element, so I will just give some white highlight onto these figures where the lights are hitting. So maybe top of the head and the top of the shoulder. Okay. It is at those places the sunlight will hit on these figures. So those points may get little bit of lighter. Okay. Since the figures are wet, since these figures are not yet dry, these highlights might spread. Okay. So ideally it should be done when it is fully dry, so that it won't spread. But you may find that if you don't wait sufficiently enough, whatever white highlight you are adding, that might get spread very quickly, because these white pigments, white watercolors are usually a little opaque and it is heavy. It spreads very quickly. Okay. Right. Now let us take the tape out, and this is the final outcome. So thank you very much for being with me in the tutorial. Hope you understood the process, and you just understand the process and you keep practicing it. I'm sure your watercolor is going to improve. And once again, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe and press the bell notification. And if you have any questions or suggestions or any thoughts, feedback, please do write them into the comment box below. I'll be more than happy to get back with my answers as early as possible. Thank you very much, and we'll soon see you with another interesting tutorial, and happy painting until then. Bye bye.